What is the latest with Jim Harbaugh? Is he leaving Michigan? It didn't feel like it, then it did feel like it. Now it does feel like it, and I would lean yes. So here's the most up-to-date information we have. He is interviewed officially for the Atlanta Falcons head coaching job, which as of this hour feels like Bill Belichick, I guess. I don't know. My pro correspondent's in the other room. Atlanta could make a decision while we're on the air for all I know. The LA Chargers have also interviewed Jim Harbaugh. That's the one it feels like you'd have more traction with if the NFL trigger is pulled. So it seems like, just sticking the thermometer in certain Michigan circles, it seems like there's as much a vibe that he's going to be gone as there has been. Now, I was listening to Sam Webb from the Michigan Insider talk earlier today. There's no one that is closer to the situation than he is, and has been on all of this Harbaugh coaching search stuff for multiple years. And he made a couple of good points. The first one was there have been different kind of flirtations between Harbaugh and the NFL. Sometimes it's been him pursuing, and sometimes it's been them pursuing him, like with the Broncos. So he said, this feels a whole lot more like the former than the latter. It feels like he is trying to pursue, he's trying to get a job. And then you've also got the sublayer of the Michigan contract that is apparently on the desk, and you got Jim Harbaugh wanting certain things put in or certain things taken out. And so here's where my mind's at. Number one, like everyone else, I'm curious, if Harbaugh does go to the NFL, do they elevate from within? Is Sharon Moore the guy, just like he was when they needed an interim when Harbaugh was suspended this year? Or do they conduct a national search? And I use air quotes there because it wouldn't be a search at all. If that's the path they intend to go, they already know who their guy would be. We just don't. There's some speculation, but we're in the dark a little bit on that. So that's the first, and you could find very reputable people who would give you two different takes on that. I am going to be someone who you can decide whether you think I'm reputable or not. I'm just going to be the one who says, I don't have any inside information on that. So I'll just be in the wait and see category along with the rest of you. However, I want to go back to this whole Michigan Jim Harbaugh contract negotiation thing for a second. I know a lot of people have had fun at Michigan's expense this year. They've had way more fun at your expense. That is a national championship trophy in the B-roll that you just saw their head coach hoisting. So whether he stays or whether he goes, they've got that. And whether the NCAA decides to come down on him in the future and retroactively tell you something didn't happen or not, you know it happened. I was there at the game. You know that Michigan just won the national title. So whether you think it's legitimate or whether you want to cast aspersions, as Meemaw would say, that's your prerogative. Not really here to tell you how to think one way or the other. But there are some people who are reading these reports about Jim Harbaugh and how he is insistent on there being language in his contract with Michigan that gives him kind of immunity if sanctions come down in the future. And of course, you look at that and you say, well, if you're innocent, why do you need that? I know that sounds good, guys. That's what we call bumper sticker logic. And bumper sticker logic is stuff that makes sense when you just look at it driving by you and you don't really think about it critically. This is not a defend Michigan or Jim Harbaugh thing. I'm telling you, if I were Jim Harbaugh, if you were Jim Harbaugh, and you actually understood the mechanisms of how this stuff works, you'd be doing the same thing. Whether you thought you were innocent or not, you'd be doing the same thing, because here is how this actually works. A head coach does not handle this stuff. Again, whether you're guilty or innocent, a head coach doesn't really handle this stuff. You've got legal types and you've got administrative and bureaucratic types that handle it. And here's the thing. Again, Sam Webb did really, really good reporting on this today. I thought he hit the nail on the head. It could be that Jim Harbaugh's looked at some of the decisions the University of Michigan has made, whether it be dropping a lawsuit or whether it be agreeing to admit to this infraction or that infraction, and he may look and say, I didn't want to agree to any of that. I don't think we did any of that. Now, whether he's right or wrong, fact remains, he could feel that way. And I could feel that way if I were in his position, or you could feel that way. So what would you do? Well, what you would do is you would tell your representation, I'm not signing a deal with these people, no matter how much I love this university, how attached I am to it. I'm not signing a deal unless, A, you guarantee me that I get final say on everything related to this program, which of course they'd say no to, or B, you put language in this contract that exempts me from any kind of monetary or punitive damages related to what they agree that they're guilty of in the future. Makes sense to me. And that's not I said earlier, that's not a Bama thing, that's a college football thing. This is not a Harbaugh thing. That's a common sense thing. You can think he's guilty all day and twice on Sunday, or you can think he's innocent. I'm telling you, regardless, if you've ever dealt with the court system and understood how plea deals actually work, or if you've ever dealt with an NCAA investigation and dealt with legal representation from your university, can you imagine, take Harbaugh out of it, just pretend it's a generic investigation into Pate State, and I'm sitting at the table with my AD and my legal representation and 15 of their assistants lined up all the way down the table, and they're accusing me of X. And I'm saying, we didn't do X. And then legal representation is telling me, yeah, but if you stonewall them on X, they're going to go try and find Y and Z. So we can either do one of two things. We can agree to X. We did X. We're going to have minor penalties handed down. Or we can say, nope, there's nothing there. We're fighting you on this. And we can risk them finding Y and Z. My representation's going to tell me, just admit to X. Well, I didn't do X. And if I didn't, and you guys are going to agree to it, it's not going to reflect poorly on you. It's going to reflect poorly on me. And so if you want to then go in another room with the same people and negotiate a contract extension with me, do you think for a second I'm going to let you give me a contract that could be totally voided down the road if NCAA sanctions are handed down to this program, when the whole time they could be handed down because you agreed to it in some back room that I'm not even welcome in. I'm not even involved in the conversation. So that's how I see that. I don't think I see that the way most other people do. That's not a Harbaugh thing. Like I said, that's just a college football thing. Will he take anyone with him if he does take that Chargers job? Curious about that. I've seen the reports about Jesse Minter. I've seen the reports, but they're just reports. No one really knows. He is notoriously close-lipped about that. The Michigan roster, we've seen what's happened with Bama, but Bama lost an all-time iconic head coach and imported a new one. If Michigan loses Harbaugh and their game plan is to elevate Sharon Moore, there's a lot of continuity in the program there. One of theirs is getting the job. I wonder if the bleeding will be nearly as intense from a roster standpoint. I don't think it would be. That's my feel on it. Now, if they go hire fill in the blank, I don't even want to speculate because I know some of those names would throw the comment section into a blender. But if they want to do that, risk reward at that point, pro and con.